Dr. Nihar, Dr. Amrita, shall we start? Because it will take time since sir is going to do a lot of hands-on things.
Yes, let us start, ma'am. We will record it and it will be available for our participants.
Okay. Okay. So very good afternoon to everyone. I welcome you to the second session of the day, which is the post-lunch session of this 2-week certificate program. And the speaker of the day is Cyber Doctor, who is very commonly called as Cyber Doctor as well, Dr. Lalit Gupta. He is technically sophisticated and a business savvy, versatile leader, articulated communicator. He is already an ISO expert and subject matter expert in the domains of information security, cybersecurity, audit, risk management, and cloud security, business continuity, disaster recovery, data protection, and privacy management. He has 2 decades of work experience in delivering business value and optimal solutions in high growth corporate environment across all business sectors and verticals like government undertakings, fintech, BFSI, IT, ITES, SaaS, pharmaceutical, aviation, manufacturing, energy, and telecom. He usually give hands-on training as an individual contributor itself in all the stages of information security strategy, governance, and management, especially for defining the information security strategic roadmap by interfacing with core business functions and technology teams to identify required future state security capabilities, working with internal information security teams to secure the threat landscape, considering strategic risk areas of the organization. He is also advisor and trainer to UAE federal government teams and Indian defense teams. He's already certified, CISSP certified, and many other certifications. Sir, we welcome you, and the platform is yours, sir. He will be delivering his talk on impact of security models on IT infrastructure and information. And after a break of like 10-15 minutes, we will have another talk by him itself on governance, data privacy, risk, and compliance. So we welcome you, and the platform is yours to deliver your talk.
Thank you, Dr. Venus, for giving me this chance again to talk to the students in Shada University. I was in the sessions in the morning from Forensic Guru and Dr. Triveni. Dr. Nihar, even I am a great fan of Dr. Triveni, and I've read all his 3 books. And I keep following him everywhere in the social media. He's a role model. And, you know, both of them, they talked about certain practical aspects of security. Even I will be talking about practical aspects, but what I will be talking about would be the proactive measures. Forensics investigation comes after the incident has happened. What has happened, who did it, what went wrong, who clicked the wrong link, and all those things, right? What I will be talking about today is both topics are for proactive security, to be ready to not get into those situations where we would need forensics and investigation. So I'm sorry, Mr. Forensic Guru and Dr. Triveni. I'm actually educating the students so that they don't need the services of investigation and forensics. But nevertheless, you know, nothing is beyond common sense here. Security, I always say that. Information security, cyber security is nothing but common sense. Even when we cross the road, we follow a model. We cross the road. Before that, we look left and right if somebody is coming. Why both left and right? Because we see people come from the wrong side also. Otherwise, you will have to see only one side. But everywhere in the world, I have seen people coming from the wrong side also. So we look both left and right, and only once the road is clear, then we cross the road. Even if it is from zebra crossing or we are jaywalking, whatever it is. Similar way are the security models. There are certain basic aspects of security, which again, you will see from my sessions, nothing beyond common sense. If we follow them, we may not get into the wrong side of security aspects. We may not get attacked by the cyber criminals. So I'll be talking about certain, again, I'll repeat myself, proactive stuff, what we need to do And let us go with that. First slide, as I always do, I talk about myself, just to tell the audience, you guys are in good hands. Been there, done that for 25 years in the field. Started my career as a pro hacker. I used to hack companies, government websites. I started with that. I think most of the people who are at my age today in security, we started with that. Luckily, or I don't know, unfortunately, some people tell me that I've never got arrested for any hacking. And on the right time, I got a mentor who told me, Lalit, use your skills to the right side of things. Start working for your country, be a patriot, don't work on the other side of the wall. And I followed him, and today I'm here. I cannot match the experience of Mr. Forensic Guru and Dr. Triveni, but yeah, some little stuff even I have done on the right side of security, investigations and forensics in my earlier days of working. Lately, for last 15 years or so, I have been a corporate guy working for corporates across the world. British Telecom was my typical playground with them I worked across the world. And after that, I moved to Middle East. I've been there for 10 years. Started my own consulting and advisory companies there, and still going on with my own company. And we do advise, we do consult, we do trainings. I'm a passionate trainer. I love training. And that's why Dr. Venus and Dr. Amita keeps calling me for these sessions. Training is something I enjoy more than advising somebody. Certifications, yes, I have under my belt all the certifications you can see in security on GRC side. I don't claim to be a techie. I'm not. If you put me on the tools which Forensic Guru was showing us today, I cannot work on any of them today because I did work on them maybe last time 15 years back. Now technology has changed so much, tools have changed so much, methodologies have changed so much, security models have changed. So I may not be knowing anything about them, but yes, the basics of security, I know. The governance, risk compliance, privacy, I know. What needs to be done to create a right security posture, I know. So I come from there. And regarding that, any certification, you name it across the world, I have it. I studied, I passed the exam, I got certified, and I'm maintaining all of them. Sometimes, new entrants into security, when they see the list of certification, they ask me, how much do you spend on these security certifications? Each of these certification needs to be kept hot every year. I need to keep fueling them, amount is huge, which I spend on keeping these certifications, but yes, they are required. Nobody knows me, right? Who has not worked with me. For a new person, these are the certifications. These certifications are the thing which creates a value in their eyes. And then if somebody works with me, then it's a different story. Then there is a personal rapport that gets developed. But yes, they help a lot in knowledge. Actually, they act as a stamp to the knowledge. Many a times, many people come to me and they say, we don't have any certification, but we have huge experience in the field, but I don't get a job because you don't have a stamp. Go and get a stamp on your experience. Job relieving letter is another stamp, but that does not talk about your knowledge. That talks about what you did in that job. Your knowledge is stamped by these certifications. So please go ahead and do the certifications. Courses like what Sharda University is doing now, they will offer you a certificate. That certificate will have a value in the market. People would know, okay, you did it from Sharda University. This was the course curriculum. So this is what you have learned, because Sharda University would have given you a certificate, stamped your knowledge after taking an exam from you. So certifications are important. If somebody is in that dilemma, should I go for it or not? Please do it. It will not harm you in the long run. So that's where I am. Been there, done that. Audience, questions are welcome anywhere in between. Don't keep them till the end. So I'm okay if anybody wants to ask a question in between, please let Dr. Venus know, and I can stop and answer the questions, right? both of them, Dr. Triveni and Forensic Guru talked about the basic of security, the CIA triad, confidentiality, integrity, availability. I will also start from there. Why I would start from there? Because there is nothing else in security apart from understanding these things. So let us start from there. I'll add certain more things there. So confidentiality, integrity, and availability. I'll read the definition and then I'll explain the three concepts. Confidentiality is to protect information from accidental or malicious disclosure. Accidental or malicious disclosure, you may have clicked a link and exposed your information, or somebody might have a malicious intent and expose the company information to outsiders. How do I protect that? Through simple basic means of encryption. Now you guys have to hear with this sound. I live near railway track, so this will keep coming. I'm sorry for that. I can't help it. Well, that's it. 10 seconds. The moment they pass through my house. Okay, so confidentiality is to protect information from accidental or malicious disclosure. For example, encryption. Integrity is to protect information from accidental or intentional modification. So Mr. Forensic Guru talked about accuracy and completeness of information. That is integrity. When the information travels from point A to point B, it must be accurate and complete when it reaches the point B. Simple measures like maker checker or quality assurance or audit logs can help you keep the integrity of information. Third is availability. Availability is to make sure that information is available to those who need it and when they need it. Today's newspaper I need today. Tomorrow it goes to the waste bin. So availability of information. How can I do that? By having a load balancing or by having activities like RAID, redundant array of intermittent disk. So where the information is stored into multiple places, if one place is not available, I can access it from somewhere else. So that was confidentiality, integrity, availability. Now I'll talk about confidentiality more. Confidentiality is also the principle of least privileges. So you start with zero privilege. When you create a user in your system, start with zero privilege, no rights at all, then start opening up rights as per the job requirement. Earlier days, when I started my career 20 years back, we used to have Windows 95, very popular. That was the first operating system I worked upon in my professional career. When I was studying, it was MS-DOS. But by the time I came into corporate career, it was Windows 95. Windows 95 used to create a user, and that user would by default get a lot of rights. And then we had to close the rights. Now, modern day operating systems are not like that. They create a user with zero right, which is called principle of least privilege. And then we open up the rights to the users. That is the best way to create confidentiality, providing that only authorized individuals, processes, or systems. Now, when I talk about confidentiality, integrity, availability, this is not only about people. Even processes will have access to each other in the schema of systems. Systems will have access to each other's information. So we need to think about all of them and create confidentiality measures. The level of access that authorized individuals, systems, or processes should have is at the level necessary for them to do their job. Job requires this much, give this much only. Nothing beyond that. That is confidentiality. Now, what are the controls for confidentiality? IAA, very interesting and important factor of information security. I is identification, A is authentication, and second A is authorization through your access controls. Now, what they are? Identification is your username. When I logged into this Zoom meeting, it asked me for a username, Dr. Lalit Gupta. That is my identification. I identify myself to the system. Then system will pose a challenge question to me. Okay, prove that you are Dr. Lalit Gupta. I supply a password to the system, which is supposed to be known to me only. So I'm authorizing myself to the system. System will check into its database. Okay, a user called Dr. Lalit Gupta had a password XYZ. If I'm supplying that XYZ password, it will authorize me to have access to a particular file or particular process or particular system. That is authorization is given. Oh, sorry, authorization is given to me. So first is identification, where I supplied my username. Second is authentication, where I was posed with a challenge question. I supplied the right password. I was authenticated in the system. Once I am authenticated, then the system is giving me authorization to my required files, the files on which I have the right or access. So identification, authentication, authorization is the control for confidentiality. Another control that could be there is on top of this or without this is encryption. Encryption of information limits the usability of the information in the event of it is accessed by an unauthorized person. Now, despite of my IAA least privilege, every measure, somebody has access to my information, what will happen? Encrypted. They will see only the jumbled words and they will not be able to access the actual information that is being stored. So IAA, least privilege, IAA plus encryption gives you a foolproof confidentiality control. So that was about confidentiality. Now let us talk about integrity. Integrity, information should be protected from intentional, unauthorized, or accidental changes. Now, not all hacks are intentional. Certain things happens without intention also. I forgot to lock my house and went to market. Somebody sees the opportunity, they will try to enter. Similar things happen into cyber world. If I accidentally keep my system unlocked and move from there, somebody can log in. Somebody can see my information. I used to work for a company in Dubai. It was a finance company, and we had this policy. I used to take rounds on the, I'll keep on telling these stories in between. I used to take rounds on the floor in my company, and whosoever system I would find unlocked and the person is not there, I would go to their email, Outlook, type a mail to their boss, and resign on their behalf. I hereby resign from my job, and undersigned Lalit Gupta. Now the boss would read that mail, he would get the shock because the subject line says I hereby resign. But when they read the mail, it is sent by me, undersigned is Lalit Gupta, then they understood, okay, that guy has left their system open and I made use of it. But that was to make them aware. Similar thing, somebody can use your system, unlock system, to modify some information, right? Integrity would be lost. So we need to make our people aware of these unintentional, accidental modification methods. Information stored in files, databases, systems, and networks must be relied upon to accurately process transactions and provide accurate information for business decision making. Today, we talk about big data. Data is everywhere. Data is the new oil. There are so many, phrases that has been coined around data because data is so important. Dr. Triveni was talking about certain cases where our personal data is leaked out to somebody and they misuse that data. We need to secure that data. That data could be in databases, systems, networks, anywhere and everywhere. So we need to have controls in place that this data is not modified intentionally or unintentionally or by accident. Because this data will be used to take decisions later on for higher gains. So if that data is incorrect, the decisions will automatically go incorrect. So let us try to keep this data integrated. No modification, no accidental changes, no intentional unauthorized changes. That is integrity. Now, what are the controls? Defined controls for integrity. You can use management controls such as segregation of duties or separation of duties, we call it. Approval checkpoints in the development cycle. Implementation of testing practices. Test it out. What was the input and what output has come. Test them and compare both the results. limit the update capability. How many people have access to your database and how many of them can update it, modify it, limit that. Stop using Excel sheets. Now, I know a lot of people will not like that, but Excel sheet is a very good tool. I have been using it for all my life. This morning also, I was using Excel sheet to do some calculations, but the moment we work in a group, in a team, and everybody is accessing and modifying the same Excel sheet, accountability is lost. If I go and change one cell, Excel doesn't keep log of that. Better than that is develop your own spreadsheet, program it. It doesn't take much time and effort. A good coder can write Excel sheet program in 1 hour. A lot of modules are available on online. Bring them, put them in a place, and your spreadsheet will be created. Less than 1 hour, believe me. You can have logs enabled in that. Excel doesn't have. So let us provide tools to our people so that they don't even make unintentional, accidental changes. That brings me to the third point, availability. Last but not the least, very important. I would say more important than confidentiality and integrity at some places, certain scenarios. Availability is the principle that ensures that information is available and accessible to users when needed. Whenever I talked about that definition, the two primary areas affecting the availability of systems are denial of service attack, DOS attacks, DDoS attacks, distributed denial of service attacks, where the hacker does not gain anything, but they make you unavailable. Your service is not available to your legitimate customer. Maybe done from a rogue nation state, maybe done from a rogue competition. You never know. Maybe done by the guy sitting next to you. Possible. Because closest the person is to your data, your system, your processes, and you, easier for them to hack you. Further the person, difficult it is. So always start from your close group. Loss of service due to disaster, which could be man-made, for example, poor capacity planning, resulting in system crash, outdated hardware, poor testing, resulting in system crash after an upgrade. I know a famous case, one of the banks in Saudi Arabia, the moment the IT guy released a patch in the production, the whole bank went down for 72 hours. Just one small patch. Patches are important, but please test them before you apply. Please keep your hardware and infra in a position so that they can take a new patch. It should not crash. Or disasters can be natural. For example, earthquake, tornado, blackouts, hurricanes, fires, floods, anything. Think about all these things and then create your facilities. We can safeguard from, I think, most of them. I remember which year was that? 2004 and 2006, when Mumbai used to get a flood on 5th of July or 6th of July every year. I had a customer who had their generator set kept in the basement. And first year when it happened, the basement got filled with water. Generator set was not available. And obviously because of the heavy rains, the electricity went out and they were in dark. Next year, we suggested them to move that generator to the higher floors. They moved it to the ground floor. Next year, the water was more. It went till ground floor. So think about these scenarios and take measures. You can safeguard it. Third year onwards, they had put it on top floor and then they could survive. No. So you need to define a methodology. So confidentiality, integrity, availability are the three pillars of information security. If any one of them is down, your whole building will go down. Believe me. So we have defined the CIA Triad. Sorry, I forgot to talk about the controls for availability. Up-to-date and active malicious code detection system. Up-to-date antivirus, anti-malware, tested incident management plans, disaster recovery planning, business continuity planning, Resilience management. How did we score good out of pandemic? India is standing far taller than any other country in the world today. Yesterday, I was watching the news. China, Japan, and many countries in Europe, including America also, are facing the trouble. Pandemic is coming back again to them. Corona is coming back again in those countries. Hundreds of thousands of people are getting infected on daily basis in these countries. Why India only had 236 cases yesterday? India is 140 crore population, only 236 corona cases as of yesterday. Why we could control all this? Because we worked upon certain, the government is active that corona might come back. But believe me, knowing the resiliency factors or controls which we have taken in India, it will not be the situation what it was in 2021 and 22. It might come, but not at that scale. So CIA works for us, whatever is the scenario. Now, let us talk about a reverse scenario. If we security guys have a security protocol or a model, even hackers have. This is the attacker mindset. Disclosure, destruction, and alteration. We also call it DAD model, DAD. Disclosure is opposite to confidentiality. Confidentiality says, don't disclose information to unauthorized people. Disclosure says, disclosure is an unauthorized party gaining access to your sensitive information. Dr. Triveni was talking about those cases, 147 crores and 4,200 crores rupees. They were the typical examples of disclosure mindset of attacker. They gained the unauthorized access to their sensitive information. Second is alteration. Alteration is a reverse of integrity. When security instruments fail to protect data integrity, data transforms. Where? In the attacker's servers. They can modify the data, they can misuse the data to create social media profiles, a lot of other profiles, having access to Razorpay and all those examples he was talking about. All that happened because they could alter the information. Third is destruction, which is opposite of availability. Destruction, I can also call denial and destruction, preventing legitimate users from accessing a system, a resource, which we also call denial of service. So this is the attacker mindset, which works in reverse to the CIA, the pillars of security. Now, let us talk a little detail about all three of them. Disclosure. There are many possible ways for an attacker to access the sensitive information in your business. An unauthorized person or attacker finds a way to access your personal computer or company issued device and reads the sensitive information. Very simple. They can just have an access to your company details and they can read a lot of information. A company insider sells sensitive business material to a competitor or illegitimate third parties. This is what Dr. Triveni was talking about today. The person sitting next to you might be the one, who would have disclosed that information. A simple bug or a design flaw which allows your users to view sensitive information like usernames and account details of other customers. Earlier days, I would say 22 years back, when internet was in its nascent state, it was very easy to see somebody's password, because when we type password today, it shows star, 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 star. It doesn't show the actual password. When I started using Hotmail, maybe 24 years back, it used to show the password dimmed, but yeah, password was being shown. Those days are not there anymore. So we have made it secure, but still somebody can install a tool like keylogger, even Dr. Triveni was talking about keylogger today, keylogger, which could get all that sensitive information transferred to somebody else. Alteration. This unauthorized modification may be unintentional or malevolent. For example, an administrative employee untrained in the use of a database may accidentally delete the records while trying to retrieve a report. I remember, I did not work extensively on databases, but I developed softwares in using FoxPro, and I worked extensively on Excel sheets. So when we were fetching a query, query from Excel sheet, let's say, I wanted the name, age, and the course enrolled from the master list of students of Sharda University. If I am a newbie and I don't want certain fields, I might, instead of hiding them or not having them in my query, I might want to delete them and then have a concise report for my boss. I can do that. So always train your employees. Don't put them on sensitive jobs unless until they understand the security and the requirements. An administrator destroys records while attempting to retrieve an annual report. Administrator by mistake deletes some important records. A malicious person gains access to a company's personal health record. He or she can change some employee social security numbers. This, our forensic guru was talking about the Ames case, where the data is leaked out. We fear that is leaked out, and the data might have information about all the biggies of this country, and somebody can change certain health records of the VIPs there and display them just to create panic in the country. So alteration is a attacker mindset pillar. Third is denial and destruction. Denial of services includes activities such as preventing users from accessing it until IT personnel restores it to normal working order or activate a backup system. So a hacker attacked the Ames. They made it not available for the users, the patients, the doctors, the health administrators, even the other officers. It took time for them to retrieve from the backups and recreate the infra and put the Ames back on its feet. But till that time, it was in a denial mode, it was in a destructive mode. Nobody could access that information. So that was disclosure. So those were the three pillars and the DAD. Now another myth or confusion I'll burst today. Confusion between confidentiality and privacy. Now, I know privacy is my next topic, but I just wanted to clear this confusion about confidentiality and privacy now itself. Now, if you look at the definition of both confidentiality and privacy, they look similar, But for a person like me who works on both CIA and privacy aspects, this difference is very important. And students, if they understand this difference now on, it will be easy for them to go out in the field and explain the difference. Privacy talks about a person, but confidentiality is about information. I'll repeat that. Privacy talks about a person. Privacy is about me, Dr. Lalit Gupta. Confidentiality is about the information. Information could be information about me. Information could be about information about my company, my client, my students, my family. So privacy is about a person, confidentiality is about information. The first difference. Second, privacy restricts the public from accessing the personal details about a person. Privacy restricts the public from accessing the personal details from a person, whereas confidentiality protects the information from the range of unauthorized persons. Did you understand that? Privacy restricts everybody to access my private, my information, my details about me as a person. confidentiality protects the information from a range of unauthorized people. Now, in public, there would be some authorized people who would have access to this confidential information about me. But privacy says nobody should know about Dr. Lalit Gupta beyond this limit. So that is the difference between confidentiality and privacy. Weather, don't worry. Now, let us talk about some more examples. Privacy is a situation when a person is free from public interference. So nobody is disturbing me in my private life. Confidentiality is a situation when information is kept secret from a reach of any other person. Understand this. Privacy is a situation when a person is free from public interference. I can do my own private things, but confidentiality is a situation where I keep the information secret from a reach of unauthorized people. Anybody who should not have access to that. In privacy, everyone is disallowed from interfering in the personal matters of a person. Nobody can interfere in my personal matters. Conversely, in confidentiality, some specified and trustworthy people are allowed to have access to the information. So that is the difference. Privacy is at the voluntary. It is the choice of a person. It is my choice how much access I want to give you on my private life. In contrast to confidentiality, it is compulsory if the relationship between parties is a fiduciary. If it is a legal relationship, privacy is compulsory, mandatory. Confidentiality, you can define. Privacy is defined by fiduciary, by the law. Privacy is a right. However, confidentiality is an agreement. I think I have given you enough differences between these two words, confidentiality and privacy. Please keep this difference in mind when you are talking to anybody. Next. Okay, I had these slides with me. Okay. Now, what are we trying to defend here? We are trying to defend information, which is vital. Take a look into how much every firm spends, and then you will know. Let me take some examples. McDonald's. Do we know how do they create their burgers? No, we don't know. Flipkart. What does Flipkart do to safeguard their information? Now, let us talk about them in detail. In an effort to better serve buyers, McDonald's keep track of their taste. That's another thing they do. And find the next food craze. So when McDonald's came in India, I was shocked to know this, when I got to know first time. Burgers, basic definition is made of beef. In India, when McDonald's came, they did not even introduce that burger. They changed the definition of burger. They came here with the vegetarian burger, a burger with the aloo tikki, burger with the chicken also. I am a vegetarian, so I will talk about aloo tikki only. So McDonald's keep track of the taste, and according to the geography, they change their recipe and keep it secret. In Flipkart, keeps track of its buyers buying taste in order to forecast the stock prices. I don't know how, but as a security person, I know, but yeah, as a layman, I don't know. If I am looking for a shirt today on any website, let's say I Googled for a linen white shirt in my size, which is like 8XL, 10XL types. Very next moment, I will start seeing linen shirts in every website ads. How does that happen? Sites like Flipkart, eBay, Amazon, everybody, all of them, they buy data from Google, Meta, which is Facebook, WhatsApp, Insta. and use that data to show you the personalized ads. So they do a lot of big data analysis. They take a lot of information from the internet and make use it to get their next shopping craze. They will know what is coming next in the market as a demand for shopping, and they will create that kind of product. Why do they do all this? Just to keep their profits high. They are a business, and the definition of business, I read that in my MBA, is an entity which is trying to get profit out of their investments. That is business. So is this any surprise that these firms and those like them are worried about the safety of their information? No, it is just, usual for them. However, if the information is really vital, must not they try hard to secure it? Yes, they should. They use methods and technologies in the field of information security. And that's where we stand today, talking about the idea of information security. The word information security is used to define a set of methods as well as the tools used to secure the data. It aims to find and remove the issue. However, fending off threats to hack a firm's data is also vital. So you can easily guess that it is not going to be easy, right? It includes a wide range of technology, provided the various spots where data is being used and stored. They could be as plain as a lock and key, for instance. Even a lock is a security measure, or even as hard as any of the latest biometric scanners. Now, do we know that how many kinds of biometric scanners are there? I worked upon more than 11, 12 types of biometric scanners. In eye, we have two kinds of biometric scanning possible, retina and iris. On your hand, there are some 4 or 5 kinds of things that can be done. Then signature analysis, then handwriting analysis, then face cut, face scan. Some scanners I have seen only they will look at the middle portion of the face. Then some of them they will include ears also. A lot of things are there. With glasses, without glasses, lot of things they are there. So this is the idea of information security, to define a way to protect my data. Now, to secure information security, I need some models, some frameworks. The information security models are a framework. This defines how information security can be built and controlled in a firm. Look at it as if you had a battle plan. It shows an insight into the total method of data security. The design we are going to talk about, done together, such moves offer a systematic means of action to plan, to develop, to preserve data security. Now, let us talk about the security models. There are hundreds of security models, not possible to talk about all of them, but I will be talking about 2, 3, the big ones. And I'll introduce a couple of more, but believe me, these are the base for every other security model. You as a student or me as a teacher today can create my own security model. And we all have been creating security models all our life. When I got kids, when my daughter was born, we used to live in Bangalore on a second floor, first floor, second floor, so higher floor. And there was a stairs, and the stairs railing was having big gaps in the iron bars. First thing I did was I went and put a wire in those gaps. I filled those gaps so that accidentally my daughter should not crawl through them. All the switchboards which we had on the lower side of the wall, I put tapes on them and closed them. because so that she would not put her fingers inside the electric switchboards. We have been doing, whenever we go out of our house, we lock our house. All of us are creating security models. Many of you would be parking your two-wheelers and four-wheelers in the college campus or at home even. You lock it before you park it. You close all the windows of the car before you lock it. All of these are nothing but a security model. So don't think security, I'm teaching you rocket science today. No, I'm teaching you plain common sense today. So let me introduce the classic security models, three main types of security models: LaPadula, Biba, Clark-Wilson security model. These three models we'll talk about in detail. And after these three models, you will understand you can create your own models for any and every kind of situation you may be into. A security model specifically defines aspects of security and their relationship with the operating system performance. What is the desired result? For that, what security controls you need is the security model. No organization can secure their sensitive information or data without having effective and efficient security models. If you think you don't lock your house and it will be secure, sorry to say, it will not. So you need to lock your house to make it secure. So there has to be a security model to safeguard your information. We can say that the primary aim of a security model is to provide the required level of understanding for a successful and effectual implementation of key protection requirements. Can I put off my camera? Dr. Dilu. Shall I put my camera off?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Thank you. It will make me more comfortable. If I'm in a class, I'm okay, but online, you know.
Yes, yes, please, sir.
Okay. So where were we? Yeah, I was talking about the security models. Information security models are the procedures used to validate security policies as they are projected to deliver a precise set of directions that a computer can follow to implement the vital security processes, procedures, and concepts contained in a security program. Now, we have a methodology defined to reach to a secure state. That methodology is nothing but a security model. So these models can be intuitive or abstractive. Security models run the direction of the road for the security operating system. It is nothing but a roadmap to a secure system, process, or an individual. There are some security models that are most currently used for explaining the guidelines and rules that direct confidentiality, integrity of the information. The key reason and focus on the security model implementation are confidentiality over and done with access controls and information integrity. So there are a lot of models, but the models which we'll be talking about today would be talking about the confidentiality and integrity of information. If we have safeguarded confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information, our security goal is done. So let us talk about these models. These models, they talk about the access rules required to initiate the defined policy and highlight the objects that are directed by the company's policy. So we will be talking about LaPadula, Biba, and Clark-Wilson model. Apart from these three, we will also be talk about two not so popular model, Brewer and Nash model, and Harrison Russo Ullman model also. Information security model architecture. Information security model architecture is an aspect of the information security model. It defines the whole firm. Now we are taking an example of the firm, or even the design of a security model for the data. It lists the data that is useful in which it is stored, as well as the technologies that were used to protect it. So what data to be secured and what technologies, controls needs to be put to protect it. Think of it as a plan for a tower. Let us build a tower. What all do we need to build a tower? You could see the design and the positions of the doors, the windows, the pillars, the girders, the floors, the false ceilings, the electricity wires, and whatnot, as well as the total length between the key sections of the house. Where would the door be? Where would the elevator be? Where would the firefighting equipment be kept? How would you put the water sprinklers or the other firefighting mechanisms? All of this needs to be planned way before you start building the tower. The architecture of information security models mimics it in many cases. But it is just same, no different. So let us see what is the relationship with security policy of these security models, how they are related. A security model is a mechanism in which security policy is produced. Security model is a mechanism in which a security policy is produced. So you define a security model based on which you define a security policy. In I think Dr. Triveni was talking about ISO 27001. ISO 27001 is a basic, is the only standard actually for information security management system. But I take it as a basics of information security. If somebody needs to understand the basic cybersecurity, information security, go and study ISO 27001. In ISO 27001, the initial phases where we implement ISO 27001, we develop security policy. And to develop security policy, I need to do a risk assessment on the organization. And there are many steps before that also, but I'll start from there. The way I do that risk assessment is my security model. So in my risk assessment, I define if I find risk more than 20, we give them gradings, maybe from 15 to 25. So if any risk I find more than 20, I will treat it. I will talk about in detail about risk management in my second session. If I find risk greater than this, I will treat it. If I find risk within this limit, I will tolerate it. If I find risk below this level, I will not do anything about it. So I define a risk model that is nothing but a security model. Based on that, I define a security policy. My security policy would say, I will not deal with any individual process or system which has a dubious background. Now, again, I'm bringing that example out of Dr. Triveni's examples today, that 147 crore scam he was talking about. Somebody in the bank would have trusted a wrong person. So my risk model would say, always do a background check of anybody you are hiring. And that would come in my security policy, that we will not hire anybody on critical roles before we do a thorough, extensive background check on them. So security model is a mechanism in which a security policy is produced, right? A security policy depends upon authentication, but construct within the confines of a security model. For example, it is designing a security model depends upon authentication authorization. We saw that, IAA. It can consider the 4-factor model of security, including authentication, authorization, availability, and reliability. AAA, and reliability. So the model becomes IAAA and reliability now. So you can define your own model based on the requirement. A security model makes the external component for the inspection of security issues in general and provides the context for database application, including implementation and application. Information security models bridge the gap among security policy declarations, and it can represent which customer should have access to the information. The operating system implementation, which enables an administration to organize access control. So this is the relationship with security policy. Now let us look at the approaches to security models. How do we approach to these security models? What security model should be there? How do we identify that? How do we create that? A security model is a mechanism in which a security policy is produced. We saw that. The development of the security policy is regulate to a definite setting or example of a policy. A security policy depends upon authentication, but give me a second. I think I missed my slides. Sorry, I repeated my slide. There are several approaches to information security models. For example, no security. Even that is a model. This is the fundamental way of securing things. Don't secure anything. The approach can be a decision to perform no security at all. Possible. My risk is so low, I don't want to secure it. I would be spending more money in securing it than losing that information. Don't secure it. So no security can be one approach to the security models. Security through obscurity. Now, what is that? In this structure, a system is protected simply because nobody understands about its continuation and elements. This approach cannot operate for too long, as there are some methods an attacker can come to understand about it. I say, okay, I am secured because nobody knows about this particular technology we have produced. But for how long? Obscurity is not forever. Someday somebody will get to know about that technology, that methodology, that process you are doing. And then what? For example, typical example, I'll tell you, IoT, Internet of Things today. Year 2018, I was in Bahrain. I was giving advice to some of the accelerators in Bahrain. Accelerators are the firms cum institutes where they help new entrepreneurs to create new businesses. So they handhold them, they provide them space to work, they also provide them some basic funding to do research and development and develop their own product. In lieu of that, they would ask for a 1%, 2%, 5% stake in their product company, in their product sale, product profits. So those are accelerators. I was advising these students from this accelerator, particular one in Bahrain. And this accelerator was working on IoT, Internet of Things. To my surprise, when I started talking about basics of security, now here I started with CIA, there I started with the need of a password. And those guys were like, sir, we never knew that we should have a password inbuilt. We thought nobody knows about this technology we are developing. We don't need a password. And that I'm talking about very basic stuff. I talked to them a lot of more technical aspects for securing the IoT devices. Then I gave them some examples, because today nobody knows how you are putting your AC on sitting in your car, or how you are putting your car on sitting in your house. But for how long? People will get to know about the technology and people will start intervening in that. So security through obscurity can be one security model, but be very careful. Another could be hot security. In this model, the security for every host is required separately. This is a secure approach, but the difficulty is that it cannot scale well. The difficulty and diversification of current sites organizations creates the service even harder. Hot security was a model that was in use in the initial days of security, 20 years back, where we used to secure each piece individually, because there were so less implementations of security. So we would have 3 pieces to be secured. Today we have, if I compare the ratios, if I had 3 pieces 20 years back, today we have 300,000 pieces. So how will we secure each of them? So we need to create a model which would secure a group of them together. So hot security. Network security. Host security is complex to obtain, and organizations become larger and develop into more diverse. We used to do host security in earlier days. Every host would have its own antivirus, anti-malware was not there, antivirus, a firewall was there, but host-based firewall were not very popular. Network firewalls were there, but on host it was only antivirus those days. So we used to put antivirus on every system, and then every now and then we used to go and check that antivirus is updating or not. We used to create dashboards and present it to the management, and it was hype. It was interesting things to do, and even the seniors of the organization would think, oh wow, what a job done. But today I know it's of no use, because those days, if we have had about 300 odd systems in the company, today we have 300,000 systems, right? So it is not possible to go and put antivirus on each system separately. So today we put one antivirus server, and that pushes those agents to each of the connected devices, and it monitors and manages all of them centrally from this one place. So monitoring from this central one place is nothing but network security. This is very effective and extensible model which we can use. Then comes your InfoSec, information systems security. Security of information systems next to unauthorized access to or modification of data, whether in storage, processing, or transit, and against the denial of service, nothing but confidentiality, integrity, availability. Addition to those measures are important to recognize documents and explanation of such threats. So we need to understand what is important in my environment, in my organization, and accordingly I need to safeguard it. Another model could be technical reference model, the TRM, an element-driven high-tech framework that represent the standards and technologies to provide and enable the delivery of service elements and capabilities. The important security framework that lies away from a business represented border, but provides its authorized products, its security position, and its risk management plan. Technical reference model we can talk about, like where we think about all the pros and cons that can happen with my data, my information, and I create a technology control around my data and my information, maybe by using AI-enabled things. If I talk about today's scenario, it could be AI-enabled scenario where I safeguard my information through technical controls. So these are some approaches to the security models. Now let us come to our main topic today, which is our three main models: LaPadula, Biba, and Clark-Wilson model. So first of all, LaPadula. LaPadula is also called a confidentiality model. So this was the first model. This model was designed by the US Department of Defense in the year 1970s to protect classified information. So DoD, Department of Defense in US, they had a lot of classified information. To protect that, they defined LaPadula model. Subjects are assigned a security clearance and objects are given a security classification. So that was the base of this model, where subjects have a security clearance. If I am a major in the Department of Defense, I can access certain documents. Higher classification documents I cannot access. So they had that kind of system. Depending upon the organization, the security clearance levels and security classifications might be called differently. So in corporate, we call them confidential, public, internal use only. Classifications, they change, but in defense, they have different names to these classifications. The model focuses on ensuring that the subjects with different clearances, top secret, secret, confidential, are properly authenticated by having the necessary security clearances, need to know, and formal access approval before accessing an object that are under different classification levels, maybe top secret, secret, confidential. So a top secret would access secret, but a secret would not be able to access top secret. Those kind of things were there in LaPadula. Now let us look at it. LaPadula looks like this. Why it is called LaPadula? This model was invented by two scientists, David Elliott Bell and Leonard J. LaPadula. So their surnames they added Bell, LaPadula. This is used to maintain the confidentiality of security. Now this use the subject and object classification. Subjects are the users, objects are the files. So if you are a user, like in this picture, you cannot read up, you cannot read things which are of higher classification. Or you cannot write to the documents which are lower to your classification. You can give your advice to the higher documents, but not to the lower documents. So no write down, no read, write up, down. That is the third property. So LaPadula talks about LaPadula model. Okay, I'll explain this picture. There are three properties. We'll talk about them in detail one by one. LaPadula model is perhaps the most well-known and significant security models, in addition to being one of the oldest models. Its primary goal is to prevent disclosure as the model system moves from one state to another. So if you are going from unclassified to top, you cannot read up. But if you are coming from top to bottom, top secret to unclassified, you can read down. Depending upon the organization, the security clearances and security classifications might be called differently. We saw that. But we will use for this example top secret, secret, confidential, and classified. Okay, let us take an example. Imagine an old cookie recipe that has been in family for years. My grandmother used to create a pickle, which was there in my family for years. Same taste. Every generation would create a pickle. So similarly, let us take a cookie example. In order for you to guard it, you would be required to label it as top secret. So you labeled it as top secret, and only certain types of people you trust can see it, such as your immediate family. So my grandmother gave that knowledge to my mother gave that knowledge to my wife, and so on, but nobody else knows these tricks. Here is another example. This very lesson would be, this very lesson would be considered as unclassified because anyone can read it or no one is attempting to guard it as a secret. We are recording this session. So whosoever who is not present in this session can also have access to that recording. So that means we have defined this as unclassified. Or if Sharda University want to label it as classified or secret, they can do that. Another example could be your medical records. They would be considered as secret only because only your doctor, nurse, or the medical staff and some immediate family members would have access to it. That reminds me again the example of AIMS. Mr. Forensic Guru gave this morning, even Dr. Trivedi talked about that. So many VIP data medical records were there, which were top secret maybe. Now they are out in the loose, in the dark web, in the hands of the rogue people. So they might classify that as unclassified, and they would put it in the public domain. So we need to take care of these things. So secret would be, for example, the medical records. So from these examples, the people that you trust with your old cookie recipe and the doctor with the medical staff must have a clearance level. Grandmother would give that recipe only to my mother, not to anybody else, not even to my aunt, who was the daughter of my grandmother. So you must have a clearance level, or the ability to have important information, or you should be able to understand that information. The clearance level is measured from lowest to highest and includes confidential, secret, and top secret. The clearance level is assigned to a person you trust. The higher the clearance, the greater you trust them. If you trust your immediate family with the cookie recipe, they will have the top secret clearance. And a doctor and his staff will have the secret level. You and everyone else who is reading this lesson will have the confidential clearance level. So all three examples are explained like this. Now, there is something else. The people that you trust with your old cookie recipe, okay, tranquility principle, subjects and objects cannot change their security levels once they have been instantiated or created. So once the cookie recipe is told to mother, she cannot change her clearance level because some top secret thing has been shared with them. All Mac systems are based on the LaPadula model because of its multi-level security. Designed US government and most adopted by government agencies. LaPadula is designed by US government and is being used by most of the government agencies today. Now, this is the LaPadula model. There are two major rules in this model. The first rule is no write down. It means that subjects are not allowed to write objects that have a lower security clearance. Subjects are not allowed to write objects that have a lower security clearance. Why? Because you are at a higher security clearance level. You might know certain secret things which accidentally you could write to an object which is at a lower level, which you should not have disclosed to them. So no write down. In other words, a top secret agent is not allowed to write or amend an unclassified, confidential, or secret document simply because to avoid top secret information, only top secret agents have from leaking. So same thing. Since LaPadula was designed for military use, subjects that have an unclassified security clearance are not allowed to read secret information. That makes sense. That's normal. This rule is called no read up. So if you are at a particular level of clearance, you cannot read up. It means that the subjects are not allowed to read objects that have higher security clearance. So two policies, no write down and no read up. Right. Now look at this graph. Why this is not going down? You can read down, but you cannot write down. You can write up, but you cannot read up. So this is to visualize the LaPadula model. So there are three simple rules in LaPadula. Simple security rule, no read up. It states that a subject at a given security level cannot read data that resides at a higher security level. Star property rule, which says no write down policy or rule. It states that a subject in a given security level cannot write information to a lower security level. Third is a strong star property rule, which states that a subject that has read and write capabilities can only perform these functions at the same security level, nothing higher and nothing lower. So you can do it on the same security level, no up, no down. Just give me a second, guys. I need to take this call. Somebody is calling me from Oman. Just 2 minutes. Sorry, guys. That was a really important call. I'm sorry for those 5 minutes. Okay. So
No.
Sorry.
No issue, sir.
Okay,
Please
thank
continue.
you. 3 main rules: simple security, star property, and strong star property rules. Simple security rule says no read up. Star property rule says no write down. And strong star property rule says only at your level you can read and write. You have only that capability. So 3 main rules of LaPadula. Now, it's not that everything is good about LaPadula model. There are some deficiencies also. So we should talk about those also. Although the LaPadula model did go a long way in defining the operation of a secure system, the model is not perfect. It did not address security issues such as covert channels. Now, what are covert channels? Covert channels are the bypassing mechanism where somebody doesn't need a login ID and password, IAA, to access the system, but they can access the system through some spurious means. For example, the keyloggers. Dr. Triveni was talking about this morning in the morning about keyloggers. Keyloggers are covert channels. So LaPadula was not talking about covert channels. It was designed in an era when mainframes were the dominant platform. So it was designed by keeping mainframes in mind. Today, we use PCs, laptops, tabs, mobile phones. It doesn't fit into the schema of things today. It was designed for multi-level security and takes only confidentiality into account. That was the biggest problem with LaPadula. It was talking about only confidentiality and no integrity, no availability. So it does not fit into the schema today. So what do we need to have to manage that situation? Biba model, which is for integrity. Now, even in Biba, they forgot about confidentiality that much. Biba model is a bit like LaPadula. While it does not emphasize on confidentiality, the main focus of Biba is on integrity, and it is often used for integrity where confidentiality is more important. Integrity where confidentiality is more important. You use Biba. We can look at it simply to reverse the BLP or LaPadula's implementation. Confidentiality is the concern of many governments primarily, but most businesses want to ensure that the integrity of the security of data is secured at the highest level. Businesses want to secure the integrity of information at the highest level. Biba is the sample of choice when integrity of security is vital. So Biba says this. This is Biba model. Now let me show you the LaPadula model, how different it is from this. No read up, no write down, no read write down. No read down, no write up, just reverse, no read write up down. Just reverse of our LaPadula model. This model was invented by a scientist by name Kenneth J. Biba. So Biba model. Thus this model is called Biba. This is used to maintain the integrity of security. Here the classification of subjects and objects. Subjects are the users, objects are the files. I'm sorry. Are organized in a non-discretionary fashion with respect to different layers of secrecy. This works the exact reverse of LaPadula model. We just saw that. Now, like LaPadula, Biba is also a lattice-based model with multiple levels. So levels are here also. It also uses the same modes of access, read, write, and read or write, and also describes interactions between subjects and objects. So in these aspects, it is same as LaPadula. Where Biba differs most obviously is that it is an integrity model, not a confidentiality model like our LaPadula. It focuses on ensuring that the integrity of information is being maintained by preventing the corruption. So you are not letting anybody corrupt the information, and you maintain the integrity of information. At the core of this model is a multi-level approach to integrity designed to prevent unauthorized subjects from modifying the objects. Unauthorized subjects from modifying the objects. Access is controlled to ensure that objects maintain their current state of integrity as subjects interacts with them. Instead of confidentiality levels used by LaPadula, Biba assigns integrity levels to subjects and objects, depending upon how trustworthy they are considered to be. So this is our Biba model for integrity. Now let us look at the rules of Biba model. It has simple 3 rules, just like LaPadula. Simple integrity rule, which is no read down. Simple integrity rule states that the subject can only read the files at the same layer of secrecy and the upper layer of secrecy. Read, but not the lower layer of secrecy, due to which we call this as a rule as no read down. Star integrity rule. Star integrity rules states that the subject can only write the files on the same layer of security and the lower layer of secrecy, but not the upper layer of secrecy, due to which we call this rule as no write up. Third is strong star integrity rule invocation property. Strong star integrity rule invocation property. It states that a subject cannot invoke or call upon a subject at a higher integrity level. You cannot invoke a subject at higher integrity level. For example, if you are a sepoy, a soldier in an army, you cannot go and awake the major from his sleep for any small thing. So you cannot disturb them at a higher integrity level. let us look at a story to understand Biba model more. After a long journey on your search for Shangri-La and true security awareness, you arrive at a Tibetan monastery. You discover the monks are huge fans of Biba model, and as such, they defined certain rules that you, the commoner, must abide by. A Tibetan monk may write a prayer book that can be read by commoners, but not one to be read by the high priest. So they will write it for you, but not for the high priest. A Tibetan monk may read a book written by the high priest, but may not read down to a pamphlet written by a commoner. So, no read down, no write up. Access modes of Biba model: modify, observe, invoke, and execute. Modify allows the subject to write to an object in layman language. It is equivalent to write mode in other models. Observe is to allow a subject to read an object. This command is synchronous to the read command of the other models, read command. Invoke is where you allow one subject to communicate with another subject. Hello, this is Dr. Lalit Gupta speaking. So you allow the other subject to communicate. Now the other person will speak with you. Execute. This allows a subject to execute an object. The command essentially allows a subject to execute a program, which is the subject. So this is our Biba story. Now this is the information flow in Biba model. You can write down, but you cannot read down. You cannot write up, but you can read up. It is just reverse to your LaPadula. So in LaPadula, you could read down, but no write down. Here you can write down, but no read down. So just reverse to that. There are two rules in the Biba model, which are the opposite of LaPadula rules. The no write down is replaced by no write up. So a subject can only write to objects with an equal or lower level of integrity. Since the goal here is integrity, we want to ensure that the highly trusted documents are not tempered by untrusted subjects. The no read up rule is replaced by the no read down rule. Subjects can only read objects with an equal or higher level of integrity. Why? To avoid highly trusted subjects getting untrusted information, they will then write in highly trusted documents. However, these two rules are considered to be too restrictive. Two principles are often added to make the model more flexible. Long water policy for subjects. Low water policy for subjects. Each time a subject accesses an object at the integrity level of the subject changes down to the lowest level of the two, this works against Trojans. The moment you access a file at a lower integrity level, your level will be dropped down. So this is a good safeguard against the Trojans. Second is low watermark policy for objects. Each time a subject accesses an object at the integrity level, the integrity level of the object changes down to the lowest level of the two. This can indicate that certain objects have been contaminated. So the moment you access an untrusted object, your level becomes down. So because the object might be contaminated, so you are brought down and the integrity is maintained for the higher subject areas. So these were the two rules for applying the Biba model. Hope this helped you visualize the information flow in the Biba and the LaPadula model. So think about them. I'll share the slides with Dr. Venus. She can share it with all of you. Visualize them,
Sure, sir.
They are just the opposite to each other models. Now let us briefly talk about the two other models, the third model, sorry, the Clark-Wilson model. Confidentiality, integrity, and availability are three essential properties for both military and commercial information security systems. In military environment, the main objective is to prevent the disclosure of information. For a commercial system, like for a bank, however, the main concern is to ensure data integrity is protected from improper modifications and inappropriate actions performed by unauthorized users. Bank would not want somebody to change my account balance from, let's say, 1,000 rupees to 10,000 rupees. The Clark-Wilson security model seeks to formalize the principles of accounting security that have accumulated over centuries of experiential bookkeeping. The Clark-Wilson model consists of subject, program, object triples and rules about data application programs and triples. In the following, we'll discuss the triples and others. This is the Clark-Wilson security model, which is based upon preserving information integrity against the malicious attempt of tampering with the data. The security model maintains that only authorized users should make and be allowed to change the data. Unauthorized users should not make any changes, and the system should maintain internal and external data consistency. So that is Clark-Wilson model. Clark-Wilson model requires a well-formed transaction system. A well-formed transaction is that operations and data feed and processing are consistent within the system. According to a lady called Sonia Blake, in her research paper, she wrote to the University of Pennsylvania, the principle of a well-formed transaction is defined as a transaction where the user is unable to manipulate the data arbitrarily, but only in constrained ways that preserve or ensure the integrity of the data. A security system in which transactions are well-formed ensures that only legitimate actions can be executed. It ensures the internal data is accurate and consistent to what it represents the real world. So that was written by Ms. Blake in her research paper. Clark-Wilson model constitutes subjects, constrained data items, unconstrained data items. Now, okay. Subject is any user who is requesting the data items. Constrained data items are, it cannot be accessed directly by the subject. These needs to be accessed via Clark-Wilson security model, that security model that is to be created. Unconstrained data items, it can be accessed directly by the subject. No security model is applied to them. So that was our Clark-Wilson security model. So with that, our three security models are over. How much time do we have? Dr. Venus? Did I finish before time or?
No, sir, you are on time.
Perfect. So we have a break for 15 minutes, I think.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then we'll start with my governance, data privacy, risk and compliance.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I'll be back in 15 minutes. I am on. I'll just put my camera and mic on mute.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir.